There's a new rule in Kansas City as you wake up this morning. Beginning today, Kansas City, Missouri will require you to wear a face mask when you enter just about any business or public place.
So this morning, we're glad to be joined live on the phone with Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas to talk about this. Mayor Lucas, we appreciate your time. We're going to talk about this rule a little bit because you can find more about this on KSHB.com because it's got the rules laid out. It's got the exceptions laid out there if you're not eating or if you're going to be have a doctor's order not to wear a mask. All that's possible. All that you can find right now on KSHB.com. But we do have some questions.
Yeah, Mayor Lucas, we wanted to ask you about business owners. We have seen videos around the country start to go viral when customers are not pleased when they are asked to wear a mask. If I'm a business owner and I've been instructed to refuse service to a customer who doesn't wear a mask, and I might be a little apprehensive about that, Mayor, what would you say to these business owners in Kansas City this morning?
Right now, I think our first week should be informing people, letting them know there's a rule. Here in Kansas City, we're unlikely to send the health department your way on the first infraction. This is more of a, if we get a complaint via the 311 system, we will call a business, make sure they know about the rule, that sort of thing. So certainly, and I've seen some of this around the country too, and frankly, it's disgusting. Some of the people that are yelling at store clerks, throwing things, threatening them. Don't put your employees in harm's way. If there's someone who's acting up, you won't get fined from one person just coming in. We're looking for those places that are consistent offenders and that sort of thing. So as we start, just know that you'll have time to build up compliance without having a fear that the local government's coming your way.
Mr. Mayor, we're showing the exemptions on our screen right now for people to understand. Again, those are at KSHB.com. We know this was put in effect because of the rising number of cases, but I think a lot of the criticism with masks altogether nationwide, people have called them somewhat arbitrary. Like, how is this being decided? You're doing this. So you've put this in place for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, how do you decide, do we keep this going? We can take away the mask. What's the kind of bar there that we're setting for a couple of weeks?
I think we let the virus be our guide. What I didn't want to do was sit back and say, oh my, our cases are increasing so much, we need to start closing down bars and restaurants again, like we're seeing in places like Florida, right? Like we're seeing in more counties in Texas. I want businesses to be able to stay open. I want us to be able to continue to go out. And we don't want to get to a situation where there's such a rapid increase that we don't think we have another choice.
So, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned there the health department is the one. We talked about that as well. The health department is the one that's going to be monitoring this. It's not a situation where the police are checking with people that aren't wearing masks. We do want to turn to the police, though, for a moment because we're talking about violence again this morning in Kansas City. Last night, early this morning, Kansas City saw its 92nd homicide of the year. A child who was sleeping in his home shot and killed. You were tweeting about this morning. You called it a malicious shooting with no regard for others. What is the city doing right now to combat this violence?
Not enough. No, look, and I take personal blame for this. I think all of us in leadership should. We've spent a lot of time talking about what we do wrong and what we do right in Kansas City over the last several weeks. It is obvious to anyone that this is a huge area of failure. A boy sleeping should not be a victim of violent crime. A few different things, yeah, and I can run through the list of things we've added on. We've got a new grant from the federal government to work with communities better. We have more social workers. We have better shooting reviews. City council and mayor, we're funding more, I think, neighborhood and community activities. But, that's not bringing this boy back to life. And that's not halting what is the bizarre and tragic reality that people in the neighborhood are growing up with today. So, look, I'm going to spend more time, actually, and already plan to talk to several in the Missouri legislature today about some proposals that they have, both relating to witness protection programs so people can feel comfortable talking about things like this, how we handle those who are convicted of gun offenses so they don't come back out on the streets, further ways to get firearms off the streets. But all of those need to be included, and that will involve me, the chief of police, the prosecutor, so many others, because I don't think any of us are cutting it right now when you see these types of results.
And we should say that number of 92 is on pace to potentially break records for homicide rates in Kansas City for this year. Mayor, just what is it like waking up as mayor of Kansas City and seeing that this morning?
I've been mayor now for about 11 months. And it's interesting because even on our highest days, right, the AFC Championship win, remember, we're going to the Super Bowl, there was a shooting of several people, and some fatal, that was outside a bar that night. You see before the beginning of the school year last year, a significant shooting, random shootings, all of that, stray bullets, and then situations, sadly, like this where a child is killed. There's nothing that cures this. It makes it very hard to focus on anything else because you realize not a lot else is important if you can't keep the people, particularly our young people, safe.
Mr. Mayor, I want to ask you this because we've talked about violence in regards to what we're seeing with racial tension across the country. We've heard from people that say part of the reason violence like this happens is part of that same racial discussion. Where do you see those two marrying right now, the violence issue and the issue of trying to find justice for so many people and so many voices?
You know, I think the way that they're related is the fact that we need to build better trust between our communities, particularly those largely victimized by crime, and the police. I think, police officials already this morning have said, in some way, wistfully, that they hope that someone will actually talk to them, right, that somebody will give them information. We need to build a closer culture of communication and collaboration in how we're solving crimes. For me, part of that involves the fact that we need people to feel like that they're not being overly policed, but at the same time, you need to make sure that people recognize that, if you're a violent offender, you'll have serious repercussions in this city, and our police focus and our police force will be after you. And so, that's the balance that we do need to create, this sort of a network where we know it seems weird right now, and I know it's an odd time, but we are all working together. Right. None of us want something like this to happen, and let's unite around something like that so that we can avoid tragedies like this one.